Imagine standing at the top of a ladder, the World Heavyweight Championship hanging just inches above your fingertips, the entire arena holding its breath, and then out of nowhere a hand wraps around your throat. Not a hand, a vice grip, and the next thing you know, you are flying through a wall of fire. This is not a scene from a movie. This happened, for real, on one of the most haunting, most violent, most unforgettable nights in WWE history. Undertaker, Edge, tables, ladders, chairs, One Night Stand, 2008. Stickman has got the full breakdown and you are going to want to watch every single second of this. What is going on, Stickman Nation? Welcome back to the channel where we celebrate professional wrestling's greatest moments with the passion and respect they deserve. Today, we are doing something a little different and honestly, something special. We are going back in time, all the way back to June 1st, 2008. We are revisiting one of the most atmospheric, most brutally creative, and most emotionally gripping matches in the entire history of WWE. Undertaker vs. Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship in a tables, ladders, and chairs match at WWE One Night Stand. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking: we've seen this match before, but have you really seen it? Have you broken it down piece by piece, moment by moment, and understood just how much storytelling, athleticism, and sheer daring went into every single spot? Because when you look at this match through that lens, you start to realize that what happened that night wasn't just a great wrestling match, it was a masterpiece. Before we get into it, if you are new to Stickman, welcome to the family. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown like this one. We covered WWE's biggest moments past and present, and there is always something incredible on the way. Alright, Stickman Nation, let's go back to 2008. Let's revisit a match that the WWE Universe has never forgotten. To truly appreciate this match, you cannot just drop into the action cold. You have to understand what brought these two men to this moment, because the rivalry between The Undertaker and Edge in 2008 was one of the most deeply personal, most creatively rich feuds in the SmackDown brand's history. And everything that made this match extraordinary began long before the first bell rang. Edge arrived on SmackDown in early 2008 like a conquering king. He had just come off years of dominating Raw and had built a reputation as one of the most cunning, most ruthless, and most opportunistic champions in WWE history. The rated R superstar was everything The Undertaker was not: loud, arrogant, surrounded by allies, always looking for shortcuts, always looking for the edge. Pun absolutely intended. The Undertaker, meanwhile, was the soul of SmackDown. He had been its dark guardian for years, a supernatural force that operated by a completely different set of rules than everyone else. Where Edge thrived in chaos and manipulation, The Undertaker was mythic, methodical, and inevitable. Their first encounters were electric, two completely contrasting styles and philosophies colliding in a rivalry that felt almost biblical. Good versus evil, honor versus opportunism, the supernatural versus the calculated. By the time One Night Stand 2008 was announced, this feud had already produced incredible moments, but the TLC stipulation added an entirely new dimension. Because while Edge was a certified TLC specialist, a man who had made his name in some of the greatest ladder matches and TLC matches in WWE history, The Undertaker had a power, a size, and a presence that no opponent Edge had faced in that environment had ever brought before. This match felt genuinely unpredictable in a way that few championship matches ever truly do, and the WWE Universe knew it. The set design for this match alone deserves recognition. One Night Stand 2008 had an atmosphere unlike almost any other pay-per-view of that era. The arena was lit with an intensity that felt almost sinister, and when The Undertaker's entrance hit, the entire building transformed. That slow walk to the ring, the lightning, the smoke, the darkness, it set a tone that told the audience immediately, tonight is different. Tonight carries weight. Edge, to his credit, didn't back down. He came out with all the bravado and confidence that defined his character, a man who genuinely believed his own hype, and in the TLC environment, that belief was not entirely unfounded. The opening exchanges. The match began with a physicality that immediately reminded the crowd this was no ordinary TLC match. The Undertaker brought power, the kind of raw, overwhelming force that no ladder or chair could fully compensate for. Every time Edge tried to use the environment to his advantage early, The Undertaker simply absorbed it and fired back with something more devastating. The early going established a brilliant dynamic. Edge was faster, more familiar with this specific match type, and desperate to keep The Undertaker grounded. The Undertaker was stronger, more methodical, and seemingly incapable of staying down for any reasonable length of time. Both men knew their advantages. Both men were willing to exploit every single one of them. The first major ladder spot saw Edge attempt to scale toward the championship while The Undertaker was down on the canvas, a perfectly timed opportunity. But The Undertaker, almost impossibly, recovered and shook the ladder with such force that Edge went flying. The crowd erupted. The statement was clear in this match: nothing was going to come easy for the rated R superstar. This is where the match truly found its identity and separated itself from every other TLC match that had come before it. Tables became weapons of genuine consequence, not just set dressing, but focal points of near-catastrophic moments that had the crowd gasping in real fear. Chairs were used with a ferocity that reminded you just how brutal this stipulation can be when two elite performers are willing to commit to it fully. Edge, despite taking an enormous amount of punishment, showed exactly why he was regarded as one of the finest TLC performers of his generation. He found creative ways to use the environment positioning ladder strategically, using the ringside furniture to slow the Undertaker's momentum, and at several points managing to create just enough separation to make a legitimate run for the championship. The Undertaker, meanwhile, was doing something remarkable. He was telling a story of suppressed fury. The slow build of his offense, the way he absorbed punishment and kept rising, the increasingly dangerous power moves, all of it was communicating something to the audience. The dead man was not being worn down. He was being angered. And an angered Undertaker is a terrifying prospect for anyone. One of the most striking mid-match moments came when The Undertaker walked the top rope, his legendary old-school spot in a TLC match. In an environment designed to maximize chaos, that moment of almost theatrical composure was extraordinary. It was The Undertaker reminding Edge, and everyone watching, that the supernatural does not change its nature just because tables and ladders have been added to the equation. The match built toward its climax with the kind of escalating tension that only the very best professional wrestling can generate. Both men found themselves on the ladder simultaneously at the peak of the drama, arms stretching for the championship, neither willing to release their grip, the crowd on their feet in absolute delirium. In those moments, with the championship swinging above them and the arena in full chaos, you genuinely could not predict what was going to happen next. Edge, using every ounce of his cunning, attempted to use the ladder itself as a weapon to dislodge the Undertaker, a move that spoke perfectly to his character. He fights smart. He fights dirty. He fights to win. But the Undertaker, and this is what makes the closing sequence so iconic, did not fight back the same way Edge did. He fought back the way only the Undertaker can. Words genuinely struggle to do justice to this moment. The Undertaker, perched on the ladder with both men fighting for position, reached out, wrapped that legendary hand around Edge's throat and drove him off the ladder with a chokeslam. The crowd response was seismic. That combination of absolute shock, visceral excitement, and genuine awe that professional wrestling can produce at its very best, all of it exploded in that single moment. But even then, even after one of the most devastating chokeslams in the history of the stipulation, this match was not over. Edge, desperate and dangerous, found a way back into the match through sheer ruthlessness, the kind of calculated brutality that defined his entire career. The use of the steel chair in the closing moments of this match was Edge at his absolute most villainous, and it drew a reaction from the crowd that only the best heel work in wrestling can generate: genuine hatred. Not boredom. Not indifference. Hatred. Which means they were completely invested. The Undertaker's resilience throughout all of this was almost supernatural, which, of course, was entirely the point. Every time Edge thought he had created enough separation to climb, The Undertaker found a way to intervene. The final moments of this match produced an image that remains one of the most visually iconic in WWE pay-per-view history. The Undertaker, in the culminating sequence of this brutal encounter, delivered a last ride that transitioned into the most devastating possible conclusion, driving Edge through a ringside table with the kind of impact that made you wince just watching it. But it was what happened after that defined this match forever. The Undertaker, dark, deliberate, almost ceremonial, set up the final tableau. Edge, unable to continue, found himself at the mercy of the dead man in the most complete way imaginable. And then came the fire. In what remains one of the most visually striking finishes in WWE history, The Undertaker stood over a fallen Edge as flames erupted around them, a moment that felt less like a wrestling match ending and more like a myth concluding. It was theatrical. It was dramatic. It was exactly what this rivalry and this match demanded. The Undertaker retrieved the World Heavyweight Championship, and the arena, which had been at maximum volume for what felt like the entire match, somehow found another level of noise. One Night Stand 2008 had its defining moment. Let's step back from the action and talk about what made this match so special on a deeper level, because there is a lot to unpack. Highlight 1: the environment as storytelling. The greatest TLC matches are not just about big spots. They use the stipulation to tell a story. This match understood that completely. Every table, ladder, and chair that came into play served a narrative purpose. Edge used the environment as a great villain should, as a tool of survival and advantage. The Undertaker used it as a backdrop for displaying his almost inhuman resilience. The match never felt random. It felt purposeful. Highlight 2: Edge's career best villain performance. Edge is widely regarded as one of the greatest heels in WWE history, and performances like this one are exactly why. He was devious, physical, creative, and utterly committed throughout. He made you believe he could win, which is the most important thing a challenger can do, and he made you desperately want The Undertaker to stop him, which is the most important thing a villain can do. His work in this match was elite. Highlight 3: The Undertaker's character consistency. What The Undertaker did in this match, maintaining the integrity of his character even inside a TLC environment, is something that gets overlooked. The old school spot mid-match. The slow, inevitable resurgence every time he was knocked down. The theatrical final sequence. He never stopped being the Undertaker to adapt to the match type. Instead, he made the match type adapt to him. That is the mark of a truly transcendent performer. Highlight 4, the Chokeslam spot. In a match full of extraordinary moments, this was the peak. The visual of The Undertaker delivering a chokeslam from the top of a ladder is the kind of image that gets burned into your memory permanently. It was dangerous, it was spectacular, and it was perfectly timed for maximum emotional impact. That single moment could anchor the highlight reel of an entire career. Highlight 5, the fiery conclusion. Say what you will about theatrical finishes, the ending of this match was perfect for these two performers and this specific rivalry. The fire, the championship, the fallen Edge, the standing Undertaker. It was a masterclass in creating an iconic image. WWE at its best understands that professional wrestling is as much visual art as it is athletic competition. This ending understood that completely. Reflective, respectful of history, forward-looking where relevant. Narrator. Now, because this is a classic match rather than a recent one, the going forward section of today's breakdown is really about legacy, about asking what this match meant for both competitors and for WWE as a whole. For Edge, this match stands as one of the greatest performances of his career. He went into a TLC match against one of the most physically imposing and psychologically intimidating superstars of all time on SmackDown, which was essentially The Undertaker's home, and he delivered a performance that kept the crowd invested from the first second to the last. His career produced many great matches, but this one is among his very finest. For The Undertaker, this match added yet another chapter to the most remarkable career in professional wrestling history. The dead man's ability to make every match feel like an event regardless of the opponent, the stipulation, or the era is perhaps his most underappreciated quality. This TLC match felt like an Undertaker match. His presence elevated every single moment of it. For WWE as a whole, this match represents something important. It proved that the TLC stipulation, so often associated with a specific group of performers from the Attitude Era, could be used to tell completely different kinds of stories with completely different performers and produce equally extraordinary results. It expanded what TLC could be. And for wrestling fans, for people like us, this match is a reminder of why we fell in love with this art form in the first place. The spectacle, the storytelling, the athleticism, the moments that make your jaw drop and your heart race simultaneously. This is the kind of match you show someone who doesn't watch wrestling when you want to explain why we watch wrestling. Alright, Stickman Nation, the comments section is yours. Because this is one of those matches where everyone who has seen it has a strong opinion, and I want to hear all of them. Question 1. Where does this match rank in your personal list of greatest TLC matches ever? We have had so many legendary TLC matches across WWE history, but does this one crack your personal top 3? Top 5? Let me know exactly where you put it. Question 2. Edge vs Undertaker produced some incredible moments across their entire rivalry. But for your money, which single match from their feud was the absolute best? Was it this TLC match? Or do you think another chapter of their story topped it? Question 3. The big one. If you could book one more match between Edge and The Undertaker with no limitations, any stipulation, any venue, any era, what would you book, and why? I genuinely want to read every single response to this one because I know this community has incredible creative minds. And finally, just out of curiosity, how old were you when this match happened in 2008? Are you watching this as someone who saw it live, or are you discovering it for the first time through Stickman? Both are completely valid, and I love hearing from fans of every generation in this community. Drop every single thought in the comments. Let's make this comment section as legendary as the match itself. So there it is, Stickman Nation. June 1st, 2008. WWE One Night Stand. Tables, ladders, chairs. The Undertaker and Edge, two of the most extraordinary performers in the history of professional wrestling, combining their contrasting styles, their genuine rivalry energy, and their absolute commitment to excellence to produce a match that still holds up, still captivates, and still delivers chills more than 15 years later. The chokeslam from the ladder. The fire. The championship raised in the darkness. These are images that belong in any serious conversation about the greatest visual moments in WWE history. Edge proved, once again, that there may never be a better pure villain in professional wrestling. And The Undertaker proved, once again, that he was simply unlike anyone who has ever laced up a pair of boots. This is why we revisit the classics. Not just for nostalgia, but because genuinely great professional wrestling is timeless. It does not age. It does not fade. It sits there, waiting for the next generation of fans to discover it and feel exactly what the live crowd felt that night in 2008. Absolute awe. Thank you, as always, for spending this time with Stickman. This community means everything, and every single one of you who watches, comments, and shares these videos is part of something special. Until the next one, stay passionate, stay curious, and never stop watching. Before you go, 3 things. They will take you about 10 seconds total. 1. Like this video. If this breakdown brought you any enjoyment, any nostalgia, any new appreciation for this match, hit that like button right now. It makes an enormous difference for this channel and it takes literally 1 second. To subscribe to Stickman if you have not already. We cover WWE's greatest matches past and present with the detail and passion that every great match deserves. New videos drop regularly and you do not want to miss a single one. 3. Turn on your notifications. Hit the bell icon so YouTube actually tells you when we upload. Because sometimes